Good day. My name is Jeff King, and I'm one of the sales leaders here at Amplix InflowCX. Thank you for joining today's webinar on ways to streamline customer feedback with Genesys Post-Call Voice Surveys. As you'll notice, we don't have any other webinars scheduled, so we are working right now on our 2025 schedule. So please check back with our website early in January for an updated list of topics and presenters. Going into this session, our resident Genesys expert, Todd Williams, will explore how to set up and deploy this feature, enhancing your current surveys capabilities to capture real-time customer feedback. Discover how voice surveys provide an authentic customer insights, creating a more responsive feedback process that drives meaningful improvements to your service strategy. All right, let's take a look at our agenda. As we mentioned, reviewing our Genesys post-call surveys, what those surveys do, how we set them up, how we deploy, and then Todd's actually going to go into a demo, which is fantastic. At that time, when he's finished, we'll make sure and cover any questions that were asked in our chat. You'll see it's not chat, it's actually Q&A. You click on the Q&A and ask a question in there. We'll do our best to get it answered real time or after the call. And at the end, we'll have our nice slide on how to contact us if you have any questions or comments for us from this presentation. All right. Most of you know, if you've logged into our webinars before, who we are, what we do. We really are the CX version of Amplix. So we go by InflowCX. We help organizations evaluate, deploy, and optimize all of their customer engagement strategy and technology. That helps us make sure and put our customers in the right circumstance for them. As you'll see on this, we have a lot of customers in a lot of different segments. And to do that, we have to be able to do a couple things. One of them is help you evaluate what is best for your company. To do that, we have to have great relationships with all of our vendors. And all of our vendors will range from, as you see, from the CCaaS side to the CX ecosystem, which is a part of the CCaaS, and then from the UCaaS side. It allows us to put you in multiple boxes and help you define what you need today, along with what you're going to need in the future. That makes a difference for us versus you going to a vendor directly and then putting you in their box. That helps us. We've got a lot of boxes and we've got a lot of ways to make sure we tailor everything right for you. So that's our story. That's what we do for you. And in the interim, we also do a lot of these webinars. And these webinars are very specific. They're very informative. And we only call in experts. So this being one of our Genesys experts, Todd has been here at Amplix InflowCX for quite a while. He was at Genesys prior and actually really understands this in a way, and it's going to make it easy for you guys to understand. So today, I'm going to pass it over to Todd and let him do his thing. Mr. Williams?
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks, everybody, for joining. And let's streamline your customer feedback with post-call surveys. With that said, what is a voice survey? I mean, a voice survey is the ability to provide to your customer after the end of a conversation to take a survey when they're right then and there. Capture that information while they're on the phone. It's very important. It's very useful. And again, it's going to capture the good and the bad at that moment. Again, as it states here, it's right at the end of that conversation, usually when the agent disconnects that call. So you're going to tell the customer as they're coming in, hey, you've been presented to take a survey at the end of this call. And maybe they select to take it, or maybe they don't. If they do, then at the end of the conversation, then the system's going to be ready to present that survey to them when the agent hangs up. What is required for voice surveys? Surveys have been in Genesys for a long time, but they've been digital in nature. What that means is the survey would be a link that was sent out either via an email or maybe through a text message to that customer, and then they would click on the link and go to a web page and fill out that survey. Genesys has expanded that, and part of that requires some setup. And first, let's get the prerequisites. You're going to need to have a CX3 license or a WEM add-in license. That's going to give your agents the ability to leverage surveys and to present those surveys to those customers. It will also leverage the Genesys enhanced text-to-speech engine, or you can leverage one of the other third-party text-to-speech engines, but the Genesys enhanced is a requirement for the voice survey. Setting it up, you're going to have to set up some permissions for those admin users to go in there and to first set up those flows and set up for those surveys. And then key thing that I put in bold here, there's no charge for that text-to-speech. I mean, today, the Genesys Enhanced Text-to-Speech Engine is a usage charge that's still in place today, but for the voice surveys, Genesys is going to not charge for that during for all those conversations that are using the survey. So you get to take the advantage of leveraging this survey using the text-to-speech engine, and it's not going to cost you any additional cost. Configuration steps. First, we're going to go through and I'll walk you through it, but we're going to set up a new, unless you've already got an existing survey form, you set up a new survey form. They could be yes, no, multiple choice questions. It can even be an open-ended question. Once you've got the survey form, which has been in Genesys for the digital surveys, then you're going to create a new voice survey flow. Once you've created that flow, you can leverage the tools within Genesys to import that survey form into that survey flow. You're going to also review and update the generated flow. So it's going to go through, Genesys is going to take that survey flow, it's going to pull it into a new voice survey flow. And then with that said, you might have to go in there and make some minor adjustments to the flow as far as with that verbiage, because sometimes when it pulls it in, the verbiage might need to be readjusted, or maybe you want to add some flavor to the text because a voice survey is different than a digital survey. And then you're going to publish it. And then this piece is done, ready to go. With that said, you're going to be deploying it, but before you can deploy it, you have to actually tell the system that a survey is out there, or voice survey is out there. So you're going to modify an inbound flow that's an existing flow that could have that verbiage in there. It tells the customer, hey, you know, you've been selected to take a survey. Are you okay to take that survey? They say yes. You tell the flow that, yes, I'm going to present a voice survey at the end of the call to this customer, and then it's all ready to go. And then you publish your inbound flow and off you go to the races. Reporting, you can leverage the same reporting that's in there today. So you're going to have the ability to leverage the same survey views to pull up that information about all those surveys that have been taken, whether they're voice or digital. And then finally, because you can do open dialogue responses, you're going to be able to drill into the interactions and actually pull up what was that open dialogue response. So again, it's going to take that open response, it's going to transcribe it, it's going to insert it into that interaction. So let's get started. So as you see on my screen, I'm actually in Genesys. I'm in right now in the voice survey flows. So going back to that prerequisite, we have to build a voice survey. So I'm going to actually step back a step and go into administration here and go over the survey form, because one of the things you have to have is either use an existing form or create a new form on the fly. So when you build a new form or you create a new form, you're going to come in here in Genesys and build it out through our survey editor. And then you have the ability to kind of preview that form. So this is the survey questions that are going to be asked and leveraged. You can do, again, multiple choice, you can do yes, no, and you can do an open dialogue, as we talked about before. Like in this case, I got, did you feel valued? Did the agent greet you by name? I got just a few questions here that we're going to go through and ask that customer with this form. Once you have a form in place, then I'm going to go back into what we call Architect. And within Architect, you have the ability to go into a specific voice survey, which is brand new, it's been released, and you can build a new survey. When you build a new survey, it's going to actually ask you questions. It's going to build out this voice survey. It's going to ask you, do you have a survey form that you want to use today? So if I go in here and I say add new, it's going to say right here, it's going to ask me for the name of the flow. And it's going to say, what is that survey form that I want to use to build this voice survey? I've already got one built. So I'm going to actually click on the one that I've already created. As I come into this voice survey, it's going to give me the foundation for this. And then within this, it's basically pulling in those, like that survey header, those questions, and you can have different question groups that are going to be set. And what's really cool with Genesys is they're actually leveraging the bot technology within Genesys to build out the survey questions as a voice bot. So as I come in here, I have the ability to expand this out into the bot for each one of these questions. And if I expand those questions out, let me expand that out. You're going to see when I drive into the bot, all those questions that I've had in my survey have been pulled in here automatically. Again, one of the things that you might have to do is once it's pulled in there, maybe I want the way it was worded in the survey makes sense from a voice perspective as I present this to the caller, or do I need to add more verbiage around it? Right? So you can come in here and you can edit the actual phrase for what you're going to present to them, and then the multiple choice options for what they're going to choose to answer those questions. And then you're going to basically, everything else will be kind of preset because it's been pulled in here, but you can definitely just modify this on the fly as necessary. But the tool itself is going to do 90% of the work for you. So you should be all set to go when you are leveraging the import tool for a voice survey. Once this is set, you publish this, you've got the survey all ready to go. Then you have to go and get into your inbound flows. So you're going to come into your inbound flows, click on your inbound flow. I've got mine open here. From an inbound flow perspective, I actually added this step here where it comes in, it's going to ask for that voice survey. I'm asking them if they want to take that survey. If they do, I'm going to plop in this step that's going to actually tell the system that this customer is going to be presented with a survey at the end of this call. So there's a new tool step that's been added to Architect. Very easy to plop it in here. You're going to specify the target as the caller. So when that caller disconnects, you have the choice to select the flow, the survey flow that you want to use. And then you have two choices. You can choose whether you want to use a voice survey or you can use an inbound call flow. So it does have the ability within this logic to have a flow that calls another flow. So they did add some logic in there. But typically, you'll probably just call your survey flow. And then right here is where I'm actually going to choose my survey. So I'm going to click on that, choose my survey. I'm going to publish this, and then I'm ready to go. This call, as this call comes in, and they finish up and disconnect, as the agent disconnects that call, that caller will be presented with a survey. I do have a call sitting out here already. So if I come out here, have this call sitting out here, I've been talking away with this customer. And then as I finish up this conversation, I'm going to just walk through and so you can hear what that kind of sounds like. And again, I just chose one of the voices from the text-to-speech engine. You have multiple voices to choose from. You can even use different genders, etc. There's a lot of choices from that perspective, depending on what you want to use for that survey. So as I'm sitting here, I got my call out there. I'm going to put it on speaker, and then I'm going to disconnect my call.
Please answer the following survey questions. Did you feel valued by the agent? Please enter value between 1 and 5, with 5 being most valued. Did the agent greet you by name? Press 5 for yes or 1 for no. If you are unsure, press 3. Did this interaction resolve your question or issue? Press 5 for yes or 1 for no. If unsure, press 3. Would you recommend it based on this interaction? Press 9 for yes or 5 for no. Thank you and goodbye.
So now, after I've kind of walked through and showed you that disconnect in the survey as I walk through, then the next step is really understanding what happened, what surveys are going on. So going back to the reporting perspective, we're going to drive in here to the workspace as a supervisor. We're going to look at those surveys that have been taken. We're going to have the ability to look at an overview of all the surveys that have been taken through our survey performance. You can choose the dates, whether it was a specific date or a range of dates, and kind of walk through and find out how many surveys were taken. I did label mine a little bit. Maybe you want to have voice surveys versus your digital surveys. You can draw into those surveys, how many have been taken, what was the response rate, what was the value within those questions as they were asked, around those different groups, agent experience. Did you feel valued? Did you greet them by name? What was the overall experience? All that's going to be captured and leveraged within the views and the metrics within Genesys. You're going to be able to look at it through this view. You also have the ability to export this. So you definitely have the ability to export this information. You can have this sent out or downloaded as a CSV or a PDF, or you can have this sent on a reoccurring basis. Maybe you want to schedule this to be recurring to generate this report. But definitely have the ability to look at these survey responses for those yes, no, multiple choice questions. And then we also, what I was talking about before, is capture that open-ended questions. I didn't have an open-ended question on this one, but very easy to set up and have an open-ended question available for the survey, and that's going to be captured within the interaction. So if you're familiar with where the recordings are stored within Genesys, you can go into the interactions, pull up a recording, review the recording for QA and all that information. And then from that perspective, you have the ability to go into the quality summary and look up the completed surveys. And here's that open-ended question that I had, and it's just going to basically transcribe that response that the caller had, and it's going to be available to you to go in there, review what that response was, store that in your CRM system if needed, or just have access to it as required. It also is going to have access to the other questions that are non-open-ended. So you're going to be able to go in there and see what were those multiple choice yes/no questions as they were completed, if you want to look at them in detail through how the survey looks or the survey form. And that's how it is. I mean, that's as easy as it can get for a voice survey. A few steps, easy to roll it out, easy to start testing and using voice surveys today, especially if you've already rolled out surveys within your Genesys environment. Voice is just an easy add-on. And again, it is going to give you that additional feedback from your customers at the end of that conversation when they are very happy or maybe are disgruntled because something didn't go well on that call. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though, Todd. We always want great feedback, but the good companies want that negative feedback. They want to understand where their customers are frustrated, where their employees are frustrated, and that makes the difference. And that turns momentum a lot of times. That's what we've seen, again, by the better companies. They want to understand where that negative feedback's coming from. So that's a great webinar. I appreciate it. And I was following along and trying to see if we had any questions, and we don't have any at this time. But if you do have any, please feel free to reach out to us. Oh, wait a minute, we do have one. No, we've got a couple coming in, Todd. We've got a couple.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I see the first one. Does it have the option to avoid doing a survey on transferred internal calls? So yes, it's set up, and when you say that, it's definitely set up to leverage the customers coming in on the inbound. But you could definitely set up logic that if it's an internal call versus an external call, that would determine whether that survey is being presented. So very easy to set that up. It's in the logic of the architect. To clarify, callers will be prompted if they want on-call survey before. So just to clarify, you have to set that up in the architect. So
Okay.
again, to answer your question, yes, it's all driven by the logic that you put in architect. So you basically put in there that message that's played to those callers when they come in. So that flow that I was showing on the inbound side, you would put in the verbiage to every call coming in, or maybe you're going to do every fifth call or whatever that scenario is that you want to present that message to the callers. Hey, you've been presented to take a survey, or maybe are you okay with taking that survey? Yes or no. And if they say no, then you don't even present a survey at the end of the call because they don't want to take a survey.
Got it.
Or maybe you want to just present a survey for every call and they have the option to take that survey or not. So,
And that's presented as the call is wrapped, correct? Most of the time.
so the inbound call, the customer as they come in will have the option to choose. Again, you configure that on your inbound flow. So you're going to make a
Fantastic.
modification to your inbound flow. Do you want to take a survey or not? And then if they do, turn on the routing so it will do a survey. And then at the end of the call, when the agent disconnects, that survey will be presented to them.
Fantastic. No, that's great. I don't see any other open questions. If you do think of something after we disconnect, please feel free to contact us. We have our 844 number up, and we also have our contact at Inflow. That will hit our marketing department, and they will make sure and get it to either Todd or myself, and we will make sure to get your answers. So if we don't talk to you again, we appreciate everyone joining, and thank you, and have very happy holidays.
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody.
Have a great day.